Chapter 7. Music in the Woods. A week had passed without any further incidents. The ice cream man, though, still returned with his offer of ice cream for the new moon. Even though most in the town knew of the experiment, that it was a raccoon eating the ice cream, many in the town, especially those who were older, did not want to take the risk of not putting out the monthly offer to her. This time, though, to help convince people it was not a ghost eating the ice cream, Nathaniel's dad had the ice cream man agree to place the box in the center of a ring of flour. It was a still night, so it was perfect for his dad's newest experiment to disprove the supernatural. The next morning, as his father had predicted, the footprints of a raccoon were easily detected in the flour. The ice cream man felt foolish as he retrieved the empty ice cream box. "Hadn't you noticed the footprints when you put the box in the snow?" asked Nathaniel. "Just never put it together," replied the ice cream man. "I always thought it was just natural there would be animal prints in the snow. Never thought they were smart enough to unlatch the box and that they were the ones actually eating the ice cream." Nathaniel took pictures of the footprints to bring to his school, and his father suggested they send them, and the picture they took last time of the raccoon to the local paper. Even with this much proof, I still think the majority of people will not want to end the tradition of the offering to her, the ice cream man pointed out. "I think he is right." Michelle's stepdad agreed. Once people are set in their traditions and beliefs, no matter how much evidence you may present to them, they will not give up those ingrained beliefs easily. Look at how many people still believe in creationism. "Creationism?" asked Michelle. "It is the strict belief that we were all created by a creator. They do not believe in evolution in spite of all the scientific proof." Nathaniel's dad explained. "You have people that still actually believe the world is only 6,000 years old. According to science, the Earth alone is at least 4.5 billion years old. The universe is over 13 billion years old." Michelle's stepdad explained further. "There is much physical evidence to support these numbers. Yet those that believe strongly in their faith still will not give up their belief the world was created in less than 1 week over 6,000 years ago." Although one can argue that proof of evolution does not disprove there was a creator, Nathaniel's dad pointed out, evolution is scientifically proven, but does not disprove the process, and the very beginning was not started by a creator. In the beginning God said, "Let there be light." Some say that was the Big Bang that started the universe. Besides, it is very easy to prove something exists. It is impossible to prove something does not exist. "What do you mean?" Nathaniel questioned him. "You know of a coelacanth. That is, if I am pronouncing it correctly. It was a fish that scientists only had fossils of. The fossils were over 66 million years old, the time of the dinosaurs. They were convinced it went extinct the same time as the dinosaurs." Nathaniel's father explained. "Well, they were wrong. In the late 1930s, a live one was caught off the coast of South Africa. Proving just because you don't have proof of something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It may just mean you haven't discovered it yet. Extinct fishes or not, I am afraid I am going to still need to come out here every month with the offering." The ice cream man replied, "One thing I have learned over time is that one can never convince others to not believe what they believe. I just think it is still important to still find the answers and question things," added his father. "At least we don't burn people at the stake for questioning beliefs anymore." Michelle's stepfather injected. Margaret just stared at Nathaniel from across the lunchroom as she bit into her turkey and cheese sandwich on whole wheat bread with lettuce and deli mustard. Michelle and the other girls could not help noticing Margaret's fascination with him. "Why don't you ask him out?" Fawn laughingly suggested. The other girls laughed too. "What?" Margaret replied, not clearly hearing Fawn. "Nathan. Why don't you ask him out?" Missy repeated. "Me ask out Nathan?" Margaret sighed deeply. "Oh no, I couldn't." "Why not?" Fawn asked again as she threw back her golden locks of hair in her customary fashion. "You are clearly in love with him." The girls all laughed more. He would never be interested in me. Margaret looked sadly at the girls. Why not? You're almost a woman. Fawn joked as she mockingly puffed out her chest and wiggled it. One of the girls laughed so hard that the milk she was drinking sprayed out from her nose. Oh no, Nathaniel loves Michelle. Margaret explained to Fawn and the other girls. The girls all looked at Michelle, who turned apple red. Really now? Fawn asked Michelle. At that moment Nathaniel approached the table. He said hello to the girls, who were all biting their tongues to prevent themselves from laughing. Nathaniel smiled at Margaret, who was clearly looking at him with dreamy eyes and a broad smile. He turned his attention to Michelle. I was wondering if you wanted to wait for me after school today. Michelle, still red with embarrassment, did not turn to reply to him. You're not going straight home today? No, the guys asked me to join a touch football game after school. I want to play. Do you want to join us? He asked, a bit confused, why she would not face him as he talked to her. I would like to play with you, Margaret blurted out, surprising herself and everyone else at the table. The girls laughed. Nathaniel, a bit startled by her outburst, responded, Sure, Margaret, you are welcome to join us. He turned his attention back to Michelle. Will you join us, or at least watch the game, so we can walk home together later? Still not looking at him, Michelle answered sure. She went back to eating her lunch. I will see you both after school then. Fawn and the other girls looked suspiciously at Michelle, who was refusing to look Nathaniel in the eyes the whole time he had been talking to her. It seems Margaret is not the only one in love with Nathan. The girls giggled. Nathaniel now blushed with the comment. When will the game end? Margaret changed the subject. I think we'll be playing for at least an hour. Why? Nathaniel answered her. It means you'll be going home later than usual. She looked at Nathaniel and Michelle. Through the woods, she emphasized. Michelle looked confused. So, it's how we always go home, through the woods. You do realize it is November 7th. Margaret was shocked they didn't remember. It is the night he plays the organ at the old church for her. It will start to get dark at that time. Margaret seemed frightened for them. So many of these superstitions have been proven false. I think we will be fine. Nathaniel confidently replied. Worriedly, Michelle finally looked directly at him. Nathan, you remember Halloween night? He calmly replied, I do, and I remember nothing bad happened. It was most likely just a deer in the woods, which we clearly spooked off. We'll be fine, don't worry. Besides, we'll be heading home before it gets dark. But we heard the pipe music too. Michelle reminded him. We heard something in the distance we thought was a pipe organ. Besides, nothing bad happened. We'll be okay. He had assured her. Okay. She accepted his assurance. The game started late. Billy and the cousins were held late after class for picking on a younger kid. The boys and girls played hard against Billy and the cousins' team. Even though it was supposed to be a touch football game, the cousins seemed to forget that it was, and were too often tackling the opposing players. Nathaniel's team played smart, and it was a tie game, forcing the game to go longer into the late afternoon. Billy handed the ball to Bruce, who slipped between the cousins, making the winning touchdown to break the tie. Very pleased with himself, Billy shouted, Eat that, Nathan. Touchdown. Bruce parroted, Yeah, eat that, Nathan. Touchdown. Defeated, Nathaniel rubbed his sore hip. It was a good game, in spite you forgetting it was only touch football. His other teammates were all in pain from the cousins' brutal playing. Rodrigo was the only one not hurting. He wore 2 sweaters under his coat as they played. I warned you to pad up when playing the Bruno cousins. His face was covered in sweat. He took off his coat so he could take off the sweaters. That feels cooler. Michelle was looking at the woods they would have to go through to get home. She noticed the sun just above the trees. We should go, Nathan. It will get dark soon. The sun was setting behind the trees as Nathaniel and Michelle were not far from the end of the woods near the bridge. Almost to the end, they suddenly heard the sound of a pipe organ. They stopped and silently looked at each other as they listened. They both could hear the music. Nathaniel took a flashlight out of his backpack and pointed it into the woods in the direction of the music. The wind whipped the leaves around their feet as the music became louder. Michelle gripped Nathaniel's left arm tightly, stopping him as he began walking towards the music. "What are you doing?" she questioned him. He looked into her frightened eyes. "You can hear it too." "Yes, of course I hear it," she answered. "Let's run." Nathaniel was not afraid, though. "You can go if you want. I need to know where it's coming from." Nathaniel began walking into the woods, the twilight and his flashlight lighting the way. Michelle stayed with him and held him tightly as they walked into the woods. Michelle looked up around them, remembering Mr. Miller's warnings about the trees. The leaves kicked up more as the wind rushed between the trees. The pipe music got louder as they went deeper into the woods. It wasn't long until they came to the ruins of an old church. Its roof was gone, and its stone walls were covered in vines. Nature grew over it much like it had a hold over the old water wheel. Nathaniel walked towards the open doorway. Only one door was still attached and slammed open and closed as the winds picked up. "Nathan, please, let's go home." Michelle pulled on his arm towards the road behind them. He looked at her to reassure her. "Michelle, there is nothing to be afraid of. I know there is an answer to the music." He continued towards the entrance, entering the church. Inside was an open space overtaken by nature. At the back of the church was an old, busted pipe organ. The partially down walls could not hold back the wind. Approaching the organ, Nathaniel smiled. The beam of his flashlight shined on the brass pipes of the weathered old organ. "I knew it." "You knew what?" Michelle was terrified. "Listen." Nathaniel assured her. "The music is only when the wind blows." Michelle paid close attention and agreed that the pipes only sounded when the wind would blow through the building. "You're right." Her fear left her. She stood up straight. "It is the wind." With relief, they laughed.